it is 7 o'clock, and it is the 23rd of September. This is the Jamaica Selectboard Meeting. First order of business, do we have any requests for late additions to the agenda?
I just want to make a couple of quick announcements at the end, but that can be.
You want to make it at the end or at the beginning?
It can be at the end.
Okay.
It's not an agenda item, no decision required.
Okay, so I'll put a little note here.
Yeah, I can do that too.
Announcements. Okay. Both of you, right? Hearing none, we'll move on to approve the minutes of the September 9th Select Board meeting. Do you have any corrections, deletions, questions, gripes or complaints?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from September.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Do you have any further discussion? Yes?
You do?
I do.
I always.
One thing, you will forgive me for being persnickety, but item number 11, it reads, I move to find that the premature general public knowledge of a personnel issue would clearly place said personnel at a substantial disadvantage because the select board feels as if it discusses said personnel issue in public. What? There's a piece missing.
Because the select board.
And the truth of the matter is, that's probably directly out of the statement that we got years ago, that we've been fighting for years.
Yeah.
Town has something
Yeah,
disadvantage.
I was surprised to even
That's
see
how
that
it
in the minutes,
Well,
that whole thing.
that's what we have to do to get into an executive
Well,
session.
I know we have to do that, but I don't think I've ever seen it written before.
Oh, we have seen it before.
Well, what do you want him to say?
So that's the question. I think
Say if,
if we find that the premature general public knowledge of a personnel issue would clearly place said personnel at a substantial disadvantage because the select board feels that it discusses said personnel issue in public, I don't think we need.
If select board said the personal issue in public, I think that works. Select board feels if it
discusses
that person would be at a disadvantage because the select board feels if it discusses said personnel issue in public.
Okay, we extract
Yeah.
said and put in the word the.
Sure, either said works too though.
Let's see.
Either one, it works as a statement.
Discusses.
I move to find that premature general public knowledge of a personnel issue would clearly place said personnel at a substantial disadvantage because select board feels if it discusses the personnel issue in public. So take out the feels because the select board discusses the personnel issue in public. Or something to that effect. Make it a. He said if, yeah.
So if we say if, then we have to say if then, if what happens if.
So pull out the if. Because the select board feels
It.
what if is the substantial disadvantage.
you can just
If
put,
we discuss it, the person's getting a substantial disadvantage.
you can just put period after disadvantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Call that a period, scratch everything after disadvantage.
Okay.
Does that work for you guys?
Sure.
Yep, because it's already a public, all right, let's do it.
So get rid of because and on?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. I know this thing is awkward, I've hated it since the day we got it. We gotta rewrite it someday, but it's got to do with the lawyers.
Isn't it what we read, the legal thing that we're supposed to
Yeah, well, that's the
read?
thing, the way it's written, it's a long story. We should fix it, but we have it.
Okay.
But if we have it nice and, we have this as an example, then later on we'll be able to do it. Thank you. Any other,
Well, we're obviously going to need it tonight.
well, we now know how to say it.
There we go.
I need a motion to accept the amendment.
So already, the
I'll
amendment,
make a motion to accept the amendment.
Is that a second?
Second.
Okay, so the original motion, the amendment has been passed. All in favor of the original motion, say aye. I mean, the amended motion, say aye.
Aye.
alright.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will pass the amended motion. Thank you much. Next order of business is we have errors and omissions from the lister. We have a lister who has attended us. Thanks, sir. I think everybody's got a copy of it.
Oh, do you have a copy?
No, I don't think so, no.
How would we have a copy?
Make sure Sheriff gets at least one.
I got one.
Okay.
All right, there are two errors and omissions. The first one,
Oops, the two.
I gave you a new one last week, but you weren't up in the office, so I didn't tell you that.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
Okay.
The first one is a couple who bought a piece of land last year, and it happened to have been contiguous to the property that they already owned. I guess they bought a little lot of vacant land that it never got recorded as a contiguous property. So therefore, when they got their tax bill, they got two tax bills when they should have only gotten one. So that's the first one.
And there's no loss or anything, it's all the same.
Well, there actually is a loss in that contiguous property means that this excess lot is taxed at a much lower rate than it would be if it was a lot on its own.
Okay, because it doesn't have a house site and all that.
Yeah.
Correct, exactly. So therefore, you'll see that the parcel B5 and B6, if added together, is approximately 343,000 or so. But when it's taken on its own, it's 299,700. So the total taxes to be collected would be less, or the total value is less. And I'm also noting that the house site value is 168,500, and that's because a house site you only get your first 2 acres as part of your house site. You don't get any acreage beyond the 2 acres. And the total acres was more than 2. So the new revised value is 299,700. The revised house site value is 168,500. The house site value, by the way, is what's used to calculate your prebate or your state payment.
Okay. Any other questions? And this, you haven't mentioned, but I assume this is the Gage Booth property on West Hill Road?
But yes, that's the gate property. So what the effect of that is that we inactivate the second property and we add the acreage from the second property to the first property. That's the effect. So that's what the bottom paragraph is stating.
All right, thank you. And the next one?
We have to vote, I would think you vote on each one individually.
We just voted them together before I did, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess technically
We
you
usually
could,
put them together.
you could reject one or the other.
If we were going to reject one, but
No, they're just technical issues.
Yep.
The second one, it's a property owned by Stephanie Amiot and Michael Londo up on Adams Road. And they have 2 homes on that property. One they use as their personal home, the other they use as a rental home. And what happened is during the reappraisal, the appraisal company didn't know which one was the primary home, so they put the wrong one as the primary home. And so what happened is the state payment of the prebate was calculated on the lower value home when it should have been calculated on the higher value home. It does affect the total taxes just a little bit in that the rental property is taxed at the non-residential rate and the primary home is taxed at the residential rate. So by flipping those, it actually increases their taxes just slightly, but it also increases the prebate much more significantly. So.
Gotcha.
So as you see, the total value is the same, because both homes are worth the same amount. But the homestead value is based off of just a single property, and the house site is the same.
All right.
Any other questions? I think, accept,
I will make a
anticipated
motion to accept the lister's request to change parcel 000B-6 to inactive and change the value of parcel 000B-5 from $294,800 to $299,700 with a house site value of $168,500. And also to grant the lister's request to change the primary house on parcel 00R-6.1 to be the one property owners live in, resulting in a change in the homestead value from 165,400 to 314,400, and the house site value from 122,500 to 171,500.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Did you get a copy of this, Sarah? You have a copy of it? Yeah. All right, very good, thank you, sir. Anything else for us on that?
No.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, number 6.
How about that one?
What? No, I'm gonna stay around for the rest of the meeting.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have a good TV signal up there, so this is his advantage.
No,
Monday entertainment.
Emmys were last.
Number 6 is discuss the local hazard mitigation plan. Next Monday, which is the 7th of October.
Not next month.
No, not this one.
2 weeks from today.
Yes.
this is the 5
Date.
The 7th is correct.
7th of October, and 4th of November.
So it's the 7th of October.
So this October 15th is incorrect?
No, that's something different.
Okay.
Yeah, this has got to do with the local hazard mitigation plan. There will be a public meeting prior to the planning commission meeting on the night of October the 7th. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Good. Says these months that have like 5 Mondays completely. Anyway. And there's an action tracker form, and the reason that's important, we'd like to have as much feedback as we can get from the public on this hazard mitigation plan. Hazard mitigation, these are the things that the town can do with money from the state if we're able, or the feds, to mitigate or prevent or minimize hazards. And this is very busy, we got very busy with this right after Irene, we did a lot of stuff. And it's time to do it again, because they have to do it every so often. They've changed the procedures, the state has, a little bit, so that now we have to work in concert with the Wyndham Regional Commission, differently than we did in the past. Anyway, there is, all you guys have in hand, a tool that has been provided us, that's the Mitigation Action Tracker. I think you all got it in your thing. And what this list is, it's a list of mitigations that we discussed and what progress we've made towards them. Some of them completed, some of them we looked at and said, we're not too sure that still makes sense, but they need to be addressed next Monday. And this is an opportunity for the public who may have an idea, excuse me, about something that we could do to prevent or minimize future damage in cases of floods or other kinds of hazards, to come in and give us their input. And that is at 5:30 on the 7th and the 7th of October, 4th of November, here in the town office.
5:30 is the meeting.
Yes, it says 5:30 on this. Okay.
I won't be ready for that meeting.
Fine, yeah, that's okay, we understand.
Is there a time for November or no?
Yeah, she says the time for both dates is 5:30 and 7:30.
Okay.
I'll do my best to be on.
Yep.
And are both of those meetings are the same? It's just given another opportunity for people to...
I believe so, but also it may give us time to research some of the suggestions before we get into the final meeting on the 4th of November.
Yeah.
Okay.
This has been posted around town, the flyer for any information. It's available in the usual spots, which are here in the post office and D&Ks and at the transfer station. If anybody has any questions. And the tracker tool is available. If anybody's interested, we can send it to them, or they can get copies of it here.
Why don't you send me a copy and I'll put it on?
Do you have a copy?
Oh, I guess I could scan this one.
In fact, you should have a copy automatically.
Just email me a PDF and I'll put it on the website tomorrow.
Okay, all right. Because I think she sent it out to all of us with I don't know if she did.
She did send it all. I do have it. I guess I do have it. 'Cause
Okay.
So don't worry about it. If I need
So-
it,
We can get it to you. So this is important in that we have to get, some grant money to make these changes. And if there's something that chronically floods or something that chronically falls down or something, we can head that off. This is important stuff. Alrighty. The next order of business is, we formed a cemetery committee, and I understand that you're in the process of getting.
I'm still trying to get people together. I've talked to Karen and Bruce. I have not been able, Bruce Chapin, Karen Amadon. I have not talked to Nelson Coleman yet. I've had some calls into him. We've kind of played phone tag. So my goal is to get everyone together probably next week, and then I'm going to start calling around some other towns and inquiring. So I'll have information to bring to that meeting. I know Karen has asked the town clerk to do some things as well.
I think I talked to somebody at the, when we had the old home days, that someone was interested, and I put it in
Yeah,
that
so
direction.
no one came to me, so I have, most, it's pretty much the cemetery sextons of the people who are on the committee and myself, so
Okay,
that's
that's a start.
a good start. So I hope to be able to report back to you, because we don't have that meeting then on the 7th. I will report back on the 14th if we decide to have a meeting.
Okay. Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Welcome.
Next order of business is, on the 15th of October, we're going to have the vote, information meeting and vote on the same night, 15th of October, for the water project. Now, this is going to be conducted like a town meeting. It will in fact be in the town hall. We will run it like a town meeting, with the exception that we're going to have a couple of experts to talk and answer questions about the water supply. VHB, the company that made the $203,000 bid to go look for water, will be there. And several other people who've been involved with the engineering portions. And we're also going to have Chris Campany from Wyndham Regional Commission, who has some experience with some of the other towns. So we'll be able to answer questions. And hopefully, at the end of that meeting, we'll be able to vote on whether to go forward. The vote is not, the vote is only to find out if the town wants us to continue to spend the money to look for water. Right now, the bid is $203,000, but that does not include the access of the property. If we need to buy property, that'll be separate. But that's just the engineering portion.
And that's a maximum. I mean, that's their bid.
That's their bid plus other kinds of things.
Right, but it also could be less than that.
It could be, because it includes 3 drillings.
Right.
If they hit water in the first drilling and it's okay, then we don't have to have the other 2 drills. Yes, sir.
Now, is that,
Identify yourself.
I'm Rob Willis. I was curious, that number that you just
Yeah.
put out, isn't there a smaller portion that we spend first to discover where we would actually drill a well?
This is the money to discover where we're actually gonna drill a well.
The two-
This is money to go find a place to drill it.
But also-
So here's how I understand it. There are 2 phases to the project, but that's not divided up. The town will approve the bid that we receive. If we go, and the first phase 1 is finding the area, so they do a geological study and try to find a place that there's water. If they can't find anywhere there's water, then at that time we can pull the plug and say, we're not gonna do this because there's no water in Jamaica, which we know that that's probably not the case. So it's not, we're not voting on one and then voting on phase 1 and phase 2, it's all voted as one thing. That's how we structured it.
Okay, and so what is the,
So you're authorizing, basically the vote that day will be authorizing the select board to spend 200,000, 203,000, whatever. If we spend 30 of it or whatever, or 28,000 of it, and then realize it's a bust, then the rest of the money won't be spent. But if we do find water, then we would have the authorization to continue through and figure out what, then
does that
Do well.
money include permits like Act 250 or whatever we need
It does.
in order?
It does include the permitting for them to do the test wells.
Okay,
It doesn't include any permitting for the future of the project after that.
okay, but it just clears them to be able to drill wells if they
Right.
find it, if they find the.
they'll do the study, they'll drill the test wells, and then we'll have another vote. Because then we have to decide, okay, now we have wells, how are we gonna bring the water to town? And that's a totally different thing that's not included in this vote at all.
There's one little caveat in there. If they decide in the first section that, hey, this is the place we want to go drill some wells to see if there's water, that property belongs to somebody, we may have to pay for access to that property. And that's the part that's unknown. So it's $203,000 plus cost of access. So if someone says, it's gonna cost you $100,000 to drill on my land, that is I don't think anybody would, but that would be part of it. That's unknown right now, because we have no idea where that's gonna be.
And you could do negotiations with someone.
Of course.
Sure.
And say, well, we're gonna drill a well and have water, we'll just give you water.
Or
As,
something.
Or something.
We did.
whatever.
That's a bridge we should look carefully at before we cross it.
Yes.
When we get to it.
And so if they do a test well and they drill down and they find water, does that now become a well?
That would,
Could
if
become.
if it had the capacity. I mean, they're not just gonna find water and like, ooh, there's a drop of water.
But
Right.
volume.
So once they discover the water, they can kind of get the hydrodynamics of how much water is actually in the well.
They could hydrofrack it too, to see if they get more volume.
Yeah, and then
There's all kinds of-
that would be a well for the system.
That, correct, there's, and the bid was up to, digging up to 3 wells. They could dig 1 well, and then say, this has volume, this has good quality water, everything's good. We don't have to drill the other 2. So that would also save the town some money. So there's a lot of variables,
Yeah.
there's a lot of variables.
Will it be known how much this will increase our taxes?
Not yet.
Well, that was some of the hope, I mean, we don't know that.
We've had some numbers. One of the things we've had is a member of our planning commission has crunched some imaginary numbers to see what it would be like. And we have people looking now, try to find something in the towns around us to try to find. I had a conversation with Chris Campion this morning about that and trying to find another town of our similar size who's done a similar project. And at this point, he's drawn a blank, but he's still checking on other people who might have some ideas that may be similar enough to give us some information.
And
People like that.
it's fairly, I mean, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but to say, okay, it's $200,000, it's fairly straightforward to figure out what that would mean to the tax rate. But I think what we also want to do, and that's part of the reason why we're having this discussion, so we don't just go blindly into the meeting and answer questions, we actually prepare to present something.
Well,
We then also want to say, what's it gonna mean on the backside? And that's gonna be a lot of assumptions and things like that, so. The cost part of it, we can easily say, how much is it gonna cost?
Yeah, because to me, that's going to be the major question.
Right.
That's asked at that meeting, if we're not prepared to give a number or some sense
Some
of what the
bracket.
number
Yeah.
would be. I think it's ridiculous.
The issue too,
We
though,
would go.
is we don't know. We could dig, we could find water, we could get the well, great quality, enough volume.
somebody
And then
will
they
do us.
come, then we go back and get the system designed, and they come back and say it's $3 million to get the water to town and get to all the homes, and the town says we don't want to spend the $3 million, so we took $200,000 and we spent to get the well, and we're not gonna do anything.
Which
That's
is,
the
and this will be another piece of it next, for the hearing. That $200,000, we're gonna have to decide how we're gonna get it. Are we gonna do a bond? How are we gonna get the money?
Yeah.
What are we gonna talk at that night? At that night with the input from the public, we need to talk about whether we have to do, how we're gonna divide the cost up. Is there gonna be a water district / fire
Well,
district?
that doesn't have to be discussed now, I don't, that complicates.
But I'm sure that question's gonna
That's
come up.
going to come up.
So we have to have some ideas.
Right, we're gonna have those ideas. And there's actually, this would fit into a state planning grant, so there's no bond required. I mean, we don't need to have a bond, but we still need to talk, and that's one of the persons that I can't, again, recall her name.
We're hoping
But
to-
having the person from the state,
Oh,
in the water division, who could talk about some of these
Exactly.
sources of funding. And again, not the answers, but just some options, and to be able to lay out these options to the public, to the town, and say, do I want to go there, do I not want to go there?
And so what I'd like to do tonight, and one of the things I put on here is, what questions, and I put this to the citizens of Jamaica, write down the questions that you have and bring them to us. We've been talking about this for a long time. We've got a lot of the questions, but there may be some questions that we haven't thought of yet. So we'd like to have the input from the people who are going to be out there paying for it that night. So write some questions down, bring them in that night. Brings up another question we've been talking about around the office. Do we want to send out a mailer to remind people of this meeting on the 15th?
I think we
I
could.
think so.
We all agree to that. So our choices become like a sheet of paper folded up or a card. Sarah and I were discussing this afternoon. It would seem like cards, we think if we send a flyer out, with folded up address, it's about $200 to print it. Is that what we decided?
I said lower, but
Between $200 and $300 in that neighborhood for postage and getting it printed. Or design a 3x5 card or a 5x8 card. Yeah, a standard thing. And get that printed up, and the printing outfit has the bulk rate. We don't have a bulk rate license number. They can send it out, and they can send it out. Mail it.
They can also do pre-sorted first class, which is still gonna save some money, and I think we probably wanna prioritize it to be first class.
Yes.
But because of their automation of barcoding and all that kind of stuff, they can probably save enough money on the postage to cover
Right.
the printing. That's been my experience from doing direct mail at Stratton.
Okay.
Right, when we had the pastoral counseling center, we had a permit, and we paid X number of dollars for the permit,
Right.
and we just sent things out, and it was more minimal in terms of what the cost of each mailing was, as long as you have a permit, and that's,
Yeah, I think that seemed like the direction we're talking about it. So we're in agreement that we should send out a mailing. And so,
Do we want to add, and do we want to try to answer any questions? I met with a resident in town, and we discussed about, it'd be nice to have, again, I talked about like a sheet with some very basic facts on it, that people could potentially pick up at Karen's or the post office, or we could mail it. That would be coming up with an answer to a number of questions, kind of the baseline questions, what is the project? Talk about the faces, kind of the questions that Rob was asking. Very basic things that we could answer so that maybe people have a little bit better understanding coming into the meeting.
Or even to lay out the questions so that people have an understanding what the meeting's all about and what we're gonna attempt to address. Maybe it gets too cumbersome to have all the answers and everything all in one little postcard.
Perhaps,
But we can give
a
a
postcard probably, or we could put it on the website and say, go to this
Sure,
webpage.
yeah.
I mean, we obviously need to get this mailed out quickly, so we have to come up with this document. Greg and I have talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, and I think our whole main thing, as the town, whether somebody's gonna approve it or not, we wanna make sure that they all have as much information as possible. And that we just don't walk into the meeting and wait for people to throw questions. We have prepared for anticipated questions, and Tom had kind of outlined a few of those, and I've got a few, and I'm sure everybody else has got a few.
we hadn't talked about the idea of putting questions on the sheet. That sounds like a really good idea, rather than putting down the answers.
Okay.
Just put down, here's the questions, and the big question. We say, how much is it gonna cost? Who's gonna pay for it? What does this really buy us? It just buys us locating the water. Those kinds of questions.
Those are good things, and again, you could answer the question, you could have an FAQ sitting on the website and say,
Okay.
if you want some answers to the questions and you can't make it to the meeting for whatever reason, you can go to the website, and we hope to see you at the meeting, because maybe the answers will bring out more questions from people. So, I'm more than willing to work something up and get it to you, and Greg, if you want to work something up for the meeting.
And I would highly suggest doing a postcard. I think it's more readable. Whichever way we go, I would volunteer to help with the mailing.
When would you like to have this from us?
Well, we have to have the people here by the 15th.
I get that, so do we need to get it mailed out by the 1st?
By the 1st of October, or the week of the 1st.
I would make it even sooner if you could.
Can't make it too much,
The
the
first
first.
is a week from tomorrow.
So sooner's kind of like.
So, if Greg and I talked about questions and kind of threw them together, we might get something later this week to you, and then
Okay.
I could work on an FAQ to answer the questions.
Mhm.
Or if you want to write the questions, I'll answer them.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna have the answers, but, we will have,
Well, we'll
that's
have
what we
some.
have the meeting for, to have our experts out there answer some questions.
But if there's an FAQ too, and I think it just prefaces people get to know.
Right, because the drilling company will be there, and Chris Camping will be there, and a few other, the engineering side of things that you had mentioned, so.
All right, I think that'd be a good idea. The question is how much we can fit on a 5x8 card versus trying to do a longer sheet. I think we could, there's no way we could produce enough to get all the questions. So
Right.
I'm thinking we'd just be real, parsimonious and keep it in the 5x8 framework.
Pique people's curiosity.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's what this is about.
if we do it ourselves, it's gonna go out quicker because we're just gonna take it right to the post office and she's just gonna put it in everybody's boxes. If we hire someone to do it, it might take longer and it might not be
Oh,
quick
for the
enough
printing
before, that's, you know, because if you send it out, you don't know how long it's gonna take, it's usually a few weeks.
Well, that's
So-
why I meant first class,
Yeah.
but not everybody has a resident box in Jamaica here.
Right,
Yeah. Well, it'd have to go first class, I agree with that, but you're right about the length of time it takes for the agency to produce it. And I don't know, have you had an experience with how long it takes them to get out of the car?
I mean, it can be a couple days on it. I mean,
Oh, a couple days?
Yeah, I mean, I'll call, I mean,
All right.
and find
What
out,
do you use?
get some express copy out of Manchester, does it, I mean,
Yeah, we've had the same day turnaround.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you
So let's
just,
explore that. Do you want to try to see what you can get on a 5x8 between the two of you and decide if it
Yes,
piques the interest?
we'll work it out, or you can work it out so tomorrow, I can
Yeah.
figure
Okay.
some stuff tomorrow.
And then,
And again, I'll put an FAQ on the website too, just if people wanna go out there.
that's a good idea, and that could be on the, that could
Some
be
of
on
the
the question.
questions that we'll have on the card, will have some very brief answers, but of course, we recommend, you know, if you're really interested in having a discussion, come to the meeting on the 15th.
Or if you have questions about our answers.
Right, exactly, get people thinking.
Yes.
Yep, I'm Lou Brusso. Just a quick question, are you gonna be voting to authorize the possible expenditure of 200,000 that night?
Yes.
Be very sure that on this card, that it's known to be a vote that night, not just information. Because
Yes.
people who wanna go to an informational meeting may just blow it
One
off.
night, we decided to do this on one night, vote, information and vote same night.
we can put the warning onto the card too.
Well, the warning's a lot more formal. We've got warnings scattered in all the appropriate
Right.
places, but we can certainly warn it as a vote.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a
right,
good
that
point.
there's a vote, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
very good point.
People may in fact not be willing to vote that night. They're gonna think about it.
They gotta think about it between now and the 15th, because we're gonna vote on the
Yeah,
15th.
but they won't have any of the information that will be coming out during that meeting time.
We're doing the best
To
we
go
can.
ahead and to make, because one of the questions that comes to my mind, do I want to be a part of spending 200 and some $1,000 for something that will be not something that I'm going to be paying for, or just something just for the public buildings?
And I
And
think that that's a question that will be discussed heavily on the 15th.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
because I represent, like Lou and like you, we're not community people, we don't live in the
Oh,
village.
you're part of our community.
Well.
But that's part of the discussion.
That's gonna be the biggest issue.
And it's gonna be part of the discussion, and we'll have the pros there to help answer those questions. Including, and I apologize, I cannot think of the name of the woman who came and told us about the funding opportunities. I can't remember, I don't wanna use the wrong name, because then I'd even look dumber. Anyhow, we will have an appropriate expert.
Is, Rob Williston, is that appropriate to have a meeting, an informational meeting, and then a vote on the same day?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what's
So
concerning
that's what a
me.
regular town meeting is basically.
Exactly, it's no different.
That's what it has.
You know, when we have a town meeting, we do the same thing. And the idea behind that, honestly, we thought about this, if we have an information meeting and then 2 weeks later have the vote, we may not get the same people. It's asking an awful lot of everybody to scrape off 2 nights out of their month. This way, it's one meeting, we've been talking about this forever, it's not like this is a complete surprise to anybody. And this now just kind of coalesces around the 15th and try to move forward. Because we've been talking and talking, we need to get some
Yeah, we
direction.
have, but not a whole lot of the town has.
Some of the has and some has not, you're right.
I just think, want to mention that Judy's right, there could be a vote to table a motion too.
Yes,
It doesn't necessarily have to be voted that night, it could be voted to table.
right.
We'll have to
We
explore that.
discussed all that too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to take a look at it.
Yes, I think it's a 75% possibility. At least that's my sense.
At any rate, it will be an interesting evening.
Yes,
Come with your notes. And any questions you have that you want to put to any of us before, then we'll be glad to help. We're gonna have I think Tom's offered to put frequently asked questions, that's the FAQ. Frequently asked questions on the website is a really good idea.
I'll work that out tomorrow and get that.
That's a really good idea. Thank you very much, sir. Alrighty then. So we agree we're gonna do a mailer and we're gonna put it together. I think that's a great idea. One last commercial before we move on to have a couple of announcements and public concerns. Taxes are due the 1st of October. Just throw that out. Little commercial from Terry. 1st of October, taxes are due. Next item I have is, there's some announcements. Greg has a couple of announcements he wants to make.
Sure, thank you. Just the first is a big thank you to everybody who pulled off Old Home Day last weekend. It was phenomenal. I mean, there's a ton of people, a lot of activities. Just, there was something going on up and down both sides of the street. It was all day long. It was awesome, and I know that's a lot of work to get that to kind of work seamlessly. The other one is not quite so exciting, but wanted to announce that every 6 months, Wyndham Solid Waste, the group that we're a member of, holds a hazardous waste collection. We had one here in Jamaica 6 months ago, or 5 months ago, so upcoming on Saturday, October 19th, and this is germane because town of Jamaica residents are able to bring their hazardous waste to either one of these collection sites. One of them is at the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District transfer station in Brattleboro. And the other one is at the town of Stratton's transfer station. So they're both from 8 to 12 on Saturday the 19th. There'll be some flyers at our transfer station here, and also Sarah's going to have a few in the office here if you have any questions on what to bring and what not to bring, what's that, etc., etc.
Okay, thank you very much. And Judy had a couple.
Yes, a little more information about the painting of the ceiling. I have been in touch with the painter, and he is planning to do it in the month of November,
Oh,
which I think is a better time because I don't think we use it that much during November.
Isn't that Rusty Dewey show in November? Pat talked about that?
oh, is that coming
It
in?
is in November, but I don't
I don't know
recall
what the date is.
exactly
We
when
go to
it
the
is.
show.
What do you have? You have a show in November?
Yeah, a comedy show, Rusty Dewey's is coming back.
And
Let me find out the date. I
you
don't-
need to tell me, okay?
Okay, I don't know, Pat knows all the time.
And then the other,
I can't remember what it is.
the outside piece should be finished the end of September.
Good. Thank you for being on top of that. Excellent. Time for public concerns. Do we have any concern public? Yes, sir.
My concern, Rob Willis again, is our illustrious South Hill Road.
Yes.
I just came to find out if you have any information from the highway department as to, are they gonna do any work on South Hill Road? I.e. the paved part versus the part that they graded.
The last time he and I talked, they were, but part of the difficulty is, and that sounds strange to me, because it's a class 3 road instead of a class 2 road, we don't get any money from the state for that road. And it's set that way because the town of Wardsboro didn't want to have their portion of it become a class 2. So we're sort of stuck with it being a class 3, so we don't get any money for it. So it's a combination of funding, and they worked on some culverts, they replaced some culverts, they filled some potholes, and now they're working on another project that the state requires them up on Warden Road. That was a couple weeks ago. And I'm not exactly sure, I don't have the answer for that, but I can talk to him tomorrow.
Okay. Because it just, I mean,
It's, I was on it 2 weeks ago, when my sister was in hospital, I was up and down that thing a couple of times. Clearly, it's a mess.
it's,
awful. Yeah.
I want to bring my bill for my tie rod ends and ball joints into the town because it's devastating my truck.
I found myself slowing to a practical stop on my camp.
Yeah, and there's a spot this is going on 10 years now where there's a dip halfway up the asphalt part where the culvert, there's something wrong with it. It hasn't been
On
addressed.
this side or the other side?
This side.
The Jamaica side?
Yeah, just before Polly's.
I don't know.
It's, if you go up it's a serious, if you don't go too fast, you're gonna hurt your car.
I won't go fast then.
Yeah.
There's a thought.
And then they graded the road probably last month, and within 2 days it was washboarded out again, and it wasn't, they didn't do a good job on it. And I think that I've seen them do a much better job. I don't know if they need to put more gravel down or what they need to do to make it work, but there's a few spots where it's just almost undrivable.
I agree, that, like I said, the other section, but I'll talk to Keith in the morning. Okay, I'll take that.
Thank
I'll talk to Alexa and see her first, and then, because she's the road commissioner. And then if I don't see her, I see Keith first, I'll talk.
Well, thank you.
Alrighty then.
I have
Yes,
one
sir.
thing I forgot to mention. I heard from Sheriff Anderson about the data from the radar gun that we had shooting down Depot Street, and unfortunately, they couldn't get the data out. So we have no data. He has offered if we want to put it back, they'll put the new one. There's an old unit and a new unit. The old unit apparently is legacy, and they couldn't get the data out of it. So he said he would be willing to put the new unit up here at some point. I know there was one out on 30 here, and collect data if we want to ask him to do that. I've also done some more looking into radar boxes if we want to buy our own. It's about $3,000. I found some that you don't have to buy any sort of service for. It's right around $3,000. So decision we would make is where we want to put one or two, and that's $2,000 to $6,000. It's a lot of money. So, but we just to kind of keep that out there. That's I've been looking at that still. So
Yeah.
I haven't been able to get anything better than that.
Okay,
But
fair.
on that same note, they have them in Chester.
Mhm.
Just like that. That's what we would have something similar to that. When you come in too fast, it'll flash.
And then you could always, if you put it on a pole, you could always rotate it so that one unit could do both directions.
Yeah. The question would be more, do we put it on Depot? There's a lot of complaints on going down the hill right when you get off Route 30. We've gotten complaints as well from coming down South Hill when they're going around the corner there. We have to make a decision if we want to do that, and if we felt it was necessary. So, just saying I'm just doing that.
Thank you, sir. I think one of the factors too is that, I'm not sure this weekend or next weekend, given the fact that the weather looks pretty good, sooner or later, very sooner or later, the park is gonna close. So that traffic is gonna go down dramatically.
Usually around 10 it closes,
Yeah,
right
I
after
think
Columbus Day.
Yeah,
Columbus
right,
Day.
Columbus Day. And we've got such a small population at the school, that might mitigate a little bit of the volume anyway. But it's a legitimate question, so I'm glad you're looking at it.
It's out there, so if you guys want me to move forward or do anything, let me know. You want to
I
discuss
think-
it further? If the public wants to discuss it further, come on in.
I think the one we've got on there right now, that's exactly, come to our meetings, that has the radar pointing upstream, just the radar gets people's attention when you come
Yeah.
down there, because you hear the radar before you see the sign.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing. All righty then. Anything else for anybody? I would then entertain a motion for an executive session.
Well, I'm going to do this right this time. I move to find that premature general public knowledge of a personnel issue would clearly place said personnel at a substantial disadvantage because the select board would potentially give information if it discusses such issue in public.
Sure.
Something like that. Make it a sentence.
We should form a committee to rewrite that.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
All in favor? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The next one.
Thus, I move that we enter into executive session to discuss said personnel issue under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1A of the Vermont statutes.
And we'll call that 7:44.
Got a vote?
Oh,
Second.
sorry. Good.
A second.
Any further discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. 7:44 and a half now. All right.
Ever went back and have
So we'll call it 22?
handle on those questions.
So we're out of executive at 22 and back to the regular meeting.
So I'm going to put forth a motion to give
Is he
the
ready?
listers a 2% cost of living increase to their salaries.
I'll second that.
I have a second. I have 2 seconds.
Yeah, he's got two.
All in
Take your
favor?
choice.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have 3 ayes. The motion carries. We will give a 2% cost of living adjustment to the listers. And for background, we've been discussing the possibility of reassessing how we hire / appoint / elect the listers. We're gonna have to take a look at that to make some suggestions for the town for next town meeting day. So there'll be some more of that. And the last thing on tonight's agenda is, are we going to meet on October what's the holiday?
It's the
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day.
The 14th.
Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Indigenous Peoples' Day.
It is the
No, I think it's
14th.
very late this
the
year.
14th.
Yeah, I think it's the 14th. It's the day before the town meeting.
So, either one.
I would suggest we keep the meeting scheduled
Yeah,
and, I mean, that there may be some preparation for the following night, and it's also then a month before our next meeting, so
Yeah, that's my concern.
There's another month?
I mean, meeting like from tonight to our next,
Because we have
if
the 5
we
weeks.
skip that meeting, we're gonna be a month out, so.
It's already 3 weeks of that meeting,
right.
and then another 2 weeks after that, so another 5 weeks till our next meeting, so I would say it's probably, even if it's a short meeting with a bridge,
We can have an abridged
a
agenda.
bridge in general.
All right, and an agenda that looks like a bridge. What, so I guess we all in favor of continuing to meet on the, what did we say, that was Columbus Day on that Monday? Have it pointed out, all in favor say, oh, I have a motion?
Well, do we need a motion? There's no decision to be made.
Well,
We're
we're
not,
deciding to meet.
we're already having.
It's a regular standard.
We're deciding, we're not
So I'm
deciding.
gonna make a motion to adjourn, how about that?
There's a motion we can all
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned at 25 after.